or misapplied to justify abusive behavior, controlling members, or silencing dissent. Misunderstanding grace or understandings of the gospel. A skewed understanding of grace and forgiveness can be used to downplay the severity of sin, including abuse, and discourage accountability and justice. Another way leaders or teachers try to use accountability, or in this case, the lack of accountability, is by downgrading crimes into sin, downgrading predatory behavior from being a child to a young woman. And we talked about that in another episode. Prioritizing authority over well-being. When leaders emphasize obedience and submission to authority figures above the well-being and autonomy of individuals, can lead to the exploitation of vulnerable people. Number 4, inadequate training and support for leaders. The inadequate training in financial management, ethical leadership, and addressing sensitive issues like abuse can leave leaders unprepared and more susceptible to making poor decisions or failing to address problems effectively. Isolation and burnout. Church leaders can be susceptible to isolation and burnout, making them vulnerable to temptation or unavailable to address problems effectively within the institution. So in summary, while most religious institutions are dedicated to promoting ethical behavior and serving the community, certain vulnerabilities can be exploited, leading to corruption in various forms. Addressing these vulnerabilities requires a conscious effort towards promoting transparency and accountability, empowering members, providing support and training, and showing a consistent change in how people react or the lack of enabling people. And it's good to know that there are a lot of churches that don't give in or enable corruption. But when you grow up in the most extreme versions of Christianity, there is consistent corruption, consistent hypocrisy, consistent, what we would call sinful behavior. When members try to cause and sow dissent among people, judging people, gossiping about people, creating and maintaining social cliques, this is the kind of corruption that isn't even at the highest pinnacle of authority. Sometimes the worst kind of corruption is what happens between the members. That's why you need transparency, integrity, and vulnerability. People need to see their jobs as being a steward, not an authority figure. And unless you have consistent women and queer people in positions of authority, like white cis heterosexual men, you will always see rampant, maybe not consistent, but very common instances of corruption. So what we can do is teach the next generation to avoid corruption, recognize corruption, report corruption, and hold people accountable. And sometimes the best way after that is all done is to remove yourself from a toxic environment.